WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
We're going to take a trip right now. Like we always do about this time.
This is a journey into sound. Break it down.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. My guest this week is the Bloomington, Indiana-based jazz composer, keyboardist, bandleader, and author Monika Herzig. We'll discuss her latest album, All in Good Time, which features Monika's band Sheroes, an all-star group of prominent women in jazz music. Sheroes is one of many projects Monika has created to support women in jazz music.
We had this idea, what if we put the most powerful women together and put them on stage and just make this statement of look at what we have and look at what you could do.
Monika Herzig was born in Germany in 1964. She traveled to the United States in the late 1980s to attend school at the University of Alabama. By the early 1990s, she was living, working, and studying in Bloomington, Indiana. Monika completed a doctorate in music education with a minor in jazz studies at Indiana University. Monika first rose to prominence in Indiana during the mid-1990s as a member of Bebop, an eccentric jazz fusion band that also featured Monika's husband, guitarist Peter Keenley. The music of Bebop featured Monika performing on a variety of electric keyboards and synths. In the year 2000, Monika issued her debut recording as a bandleader under the name The Monika Herzig Acoustic Project. The album, titled Melody Without Words, featured a straight-ahead jazz sound, a style Monika has followed for the past 2 decades. Monika's work has been praised in jazz publications, including Downbeat, and she's performed at major festivals and clubs around the world. And she'll be performing with Sheroes on August 25th at the Jazz Kitchen. Monika will join me in a moment, but first, let's hear a track from her new album, All in Good Time. This is Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Palermo Chico. That was Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Palermo Chico. And Monika is my guest this week. Monika, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to discuss your latest album, All in Good Time, recorded with your band, Sheroes, an all-star group of jazz musicians. I understand this is the 10th anniversary of Sheroes. Is that right?
Yeah, we recorded our first album in May 2014.
Wow. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Sheroes is one of many projects you're part of that are designed to help promote the legacy of women in jazz music and to create educational opportunities for young women and girls interested in jazz. As we get started, can you talk a bit about the origins of Sheroes and how that fits into your work promoting women in jazz music?
Yeah, so obviously I'm one of those kind. And I started out couple generations earlier than the young ones now, and the world looked a little different then. So I started in the 80s, and I had to encounter a lot of those barriers that we still see. So out of that constant, trying to find my space and create my space that I thought I could have and should have, I realized, well, it takes a village to make that space. And what's especially missing is role models, seeing somebody like you in the role that you want to pursue. So out of that came this activism of let's be that village and let's put it together. And so 10 years ago, we had this idea. I had a manager of New York at that time saying, okay, what if we put the most powerful women together and put them on stage and just make this statement of look at what we have and look at what you could do. And so at that time, I pretty much cold called all my favorite people in the world. They were all like, yay, let's do it. And so this is our fourth album. We've been doing this 10 years, and we've been touring a lot with that group. And yeah, it's exciting. And it's exciting to see in those 10 years how there were quite a few following in the footsteps and how we can see, the effect. So
I want to ask you about that because of the work of musicians like you. And more recently, I think Terry Lynn Carrington has been very vocal on this issue. I think we have seen progress. There's more representation of women in jazz festival lineups. I think there's more representation of women musicians in jazz media, to just name a few examples. In the last 10 years since you started this project, do you see progress? Do you see change? I know there's still work to go, but do you see change?
So yes, on both, yeah. So we saw quite a bit of change, but like everything in change, it's waves, so it'll go up. And then we see the backlash. So it goes down and then it'll go up again to a medium level. So we saw a bit of a high, and I think we're on the downside of this because, with the politics too, and we see a lot of backlash in general against the liberation and people being afraid of change. And that's natural. So right now, we're probably going to meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, the stages have changed. There's more incorporation. What's still missing is this equilibrium of participating as an equal and not just being invited to the others, if you know what I mean. So right now, we still have a system that was built on a specific patriarchal structure, and that's how it works. So far, it was always you come in and you become one of the others. And that's not the goal. So the goal is to coexist and as equals create in the system. So that's kind of what I'm still on the quest on, and that's what we'll have to solve, that all the voices are equal inside and are expressed equally.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned the ups and downs in progress. I grew up in the 1990s, and there was this movement, this feminist movement in punk rock music called Riot Girl that was very influential on me and my little sister, who was a big music fan. And at the time I was naive, and I thought, they solved this problem of misogyny in rock music, where the Riot Girl movement is going to forever cure that issue. But this is a constant struggle, right? Fighting for equality in society at large, but even in this niche of jazz music. This is a constant struggle. Is that right?
Well, it is, and you can't. It's not a quick process. So that if you have structures that are built in a specific way to change the complete structures, that takes time. And we've been talking about women in jazz since the 50s, 60s, right? And for 30 years, there was no change. It was a nice topic to be talked about. So we were seeing the change, but it'll take a while, and it'll find its balance somewhere there in the middle.
Monika, I want to jump into your new record, which is extraordinary, All in Good Time. I understand the album's title track was written after the death of the jazz legend Chick Corea. He passed in 2021. Chick Corea has been a huge influence on you and your work. You wrote a book about him, Experiencing Chick Corea, which was published, I believe, in 2017. I also have to mention, because I want to ask you about this separately, but the album was produced by Lenny White, who is a former member of Chick Corea's Return to Forever. In many ways, it feels like the spirit of Chick Corea is kind of hovering over this album. Was that intentional? Tell me about writing All in Good Time and the influence of Chick Corea on this project.
Yeah, so when he passed in 21, I mean, it was a big blow. Nobody was expecting that. And he had kept it very secret that he was even sick. And yes, he was one of my biggest influences. So I wrote that tune, and actually there's another one, Arrival in Forever, on that album that obviously hints to it. And initially I was thinking actually about putting some kind of tribute together, and I was in touch with Lenny White then. And you know, we just talked about options and explored some avenues to get funding, and then, you know, pandemic lifts and life goes on in new ways. And there's several things I realized. One, that, you know, everybody and their brother were doing tributes. And B, to pay tribute to such a giant, you can't just put some music together and play, because none of us is that giant, and we will not do it justice. So I kind of put it a little on the back burner, but then there was this opportunity with Chamber Music America. They have a program where they team you up with, they call it mentors, and they want to support projects that are women-led. So I actually applied for that, and I got it, and I had put Lenny as our mentor since we were in touch, and said, okay, now we can put an album together. But then I decided to make it one more Sheroes album because it was timely, and it just seemed to work best.
I'm going to share the album's title track next. Anything you want to say before we listen?
All in Good Time. Listen to that sax solo by Camille Thurman. This is just, it blew our mind in the studio when she played. And you know, I'm so happy she came in and was a guest on this, but just let your mind be blown.
This is Monika Herzig's Sheroes with All in Good Time. I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. We just heard Monika Herzig's Sheroes with All in Good Time, and Monika is my guest this week. Monika, I just mentioned the All in Good Time album was produced by Lenny White. He was a member of Chick Corea's Return to Forever band. Lenny is a legendary figure in American music. He played on Miles Davis's Bitches Brew album. He's worked with music icons like Chaka Khan, Freddie Hubbard, and literally dozens of others. What was that like going into the studio with him? I would be intimidated. I would be scared to death. I mean, I know you're a seasoned musician. How did it feel going into the studio with him?
We had a lot of discussions in advance. So when we were getting ready, we were back and forth saying, okay, some people say he's really nice. Some people say he can be really mean. And, you know, we were scared. I mean, I had prepared with him. So we had Zoom meetings and talks. But then we set up this rehearsal at the trombonist's house in Rahway, and he was going to come, and, you know, we were all like just holding on to see, okay, which direction is he going to go? And he came in, and he was just so supportive and so nice. You know, I don't think he ever said anything that would put us out of our comfort zone. It was always like suggestions that really worked and helpful. And just, you know, just having that presence and knowing, okay, here's somebody listening who has been working with all of these people. That gives you a confidence level where you go, okay, I can do this. I can live up to it. And it was super interesting because, he has a lot of the production techniques of the 70s and 80s of that time, which are different than production techniques now, especially in terms of how you perceive sound. We are so used to getting everything through the speaker frontal. And he said very early on, okay, imagine this. Everybody has like their space on stage. So if the piano is one side and the saxophone is in the middle, then what you want to hear when you hear the music is the piano on one side and the sax in the middle and everybody in their space. And it's a different way of mixing and thinking about the music. And that, I think, was one of the biggest lessons I took away on that too.
Yeah, it sounds great. How meaningful was it for you personally to work with him? I know you grew up listening to these albums with Return to Forever. You were very inspired by that music. I know in the work I do here, sometimes I get to interview people whose music I grew up with and who inspired me. And it's always extremely meaningful to me. How meaningful was this for you?
Super meaningful and just a huge honor, that for somebody that is your hero, that you look up to, thinks that you're worthwhile to be on equal representation. And he was very supportive of the outcome. He said, you guys are just doing amazing music, modern music, and he's going to share it far and wide. And that's just a huge honor. And yeah.
Monika, the next track I want to share is Run the World, Girls, a very unique jazz arrangement of Beyoncé's massive 2011 hit song. How in the world did you come up with a jazz arrangement of this Beyoncé song?
Yeah, that's what Lenny said too.
It doesn't seem to be an easy song to kind of shift into the jazz world.
It's not at all. I mean, and Beyoncé's music in general, I mean, it's very unique, and it's not in the traditional songwriting format, right? It's clusters and segments that go together. And I had both reactions of some saying, that doesn't work, and others, oh, cool. So, I mean, it's kind of disputed what we came up with. But, I mean, of course, the theme, Run the World, Girls, that's the idea where I thought, let's see if we can do something with that. And then I worked it using her segments. I kept the melodies intact and just put different grooves, harmonies, and concepts behind it. And when we recorded it, I don't think Lenny realized that it was that song. And we finally got it, and it wasn't easy to do. And he said, I don't get this song. And I was like, well, this is, do you know the original? He was like, oh my God. So, I mean, everybody make their opinion. I think it, it worked and it brings the message, but it's a matter of taste.
Have you had a chance to play it in front of audiences yet?
Oh, yeah, we played it quite a bit.
What's the reaction?
And it works because, then you can jam and everybody. And I get the audience at the end, and you can try it when you hear it now. At the very end, we'll play ba 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 ba, and you just yell really loud, girls, because it's who run the world, girls.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to that track. This is Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Run the World, Girls. Cultural Manifesto will return with more words and music from Monika Herzig after this short break.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. We just heard Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Run the World, Girls, and Monika is my guest this week. Monika, the Sheroes band features a lot of extraordinary musicians. You've also had a lot of guest featured artists over the years. Tell us about the musicians featured on the current album, and then if you want to shout out any of the past featured guests that you'd want our listeners to know about. Yeah, who are we hearing on the current album?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about making a list of everybody
you should.
who has
it's
played
amazing.
over time. It's pretty comprehensive. So we have this core group that developed over time that's now been part of it since the beginning, and that's Jamie Baum on flute, incredible composer. She just also released an album that got a 5-star review in Downbeat, and just very sophisticated composer. And so she's been with us, and she's always in the Downbeat polls. She'll be number 2 and 1 in the flute polls. The trombonist, Reut Regev, she is from Israel and lives in the New York area since 20 years. She's quite deeply in the avant-garde scene. She tours with Hasmat Modine and has been working with Anthony Braxton quite a bit. So she's been there, and these are actually all the ones who are coming to Indianapolis on August 25th at the Jazz Kitchen, so not to be missed, Sunday. And then on drums, Rosa Avila also has been with us. She was the drummer for Andy Williams in Branson, Missouri for 18 years. And after he passed away, she moved to New York, and she's in the Broadway scene and is right now in the Broadway musical Selfs that just got the Golden Globes, two of them. I recently took a job in Vienna and spending my half of my time, and I made a very good friend there, Gina Schwartz, the bass player, who is one of probably the only jazz professor, although there's now expanding in Vienna on bass. And so I brought her here to record, and she'll also come here for the show. So that's the core. And then we had Camille Thurman guest with us, who was with the Lincoln Center Orchestra for a year on the invitation of Wynton Marsalis, which was a humongous deal. And she also sings, and she does that on the album. An incredible vocalist, just a real natural musician. I just love her. And then, of course, Lainey Stern has been with us from the beginning, and she guested on a few tunes. Unfortunately, she has a husband called Mike who keeps her really busy now, and she goes on tour with him all the time with the 2 guitars. So those are the current ones. From the past ones, really important, Ingrid Jensen guested several times. She also toured with us. I had her here. Ada Ravati, Randy Brecker's wife and saxophonist, guested several times. Myra Casales on the percussion. We had Akua Dixon on the cello, guest with us. Jane Burnett from Makeke and from Canada. And I probably forget really important people.
Yeah. It's always amazing the folks you bring here to Indiana to feature in concerts too. So very grateful for the opportunity to see some of those musicians play here. You'll be kicking off your tour with the Sheroes Band on August 25th at the Jazz Kitchen. Mm-hmm. From there, you'll go on to play at the Washington, D.C. Jazz Festival, the Detroit Jazz Festival, and other gigs in the United States. Then you're going to Europe and Asia. This sounds like an incredible tour. I'm sure it was a nightmare to coordinate all the visas and travel itineraries for everyone. Tell me about this tour.
Yeah, I'm still coordinating the visas and, and the flights. So this one in the U.S., I'm just really excited, and hopefully it's a sign of how labor pays off, how it came together. Because we also did get the support from Jazz Road, which is a touring grant from South Arts, which helps us put that together. And then the DC Jazz Festival and the Detroit Jazz Festival came through and hosting us. And those are two of the biggest jazz festivals in the U.S., so it's a real honor to be part of it. We'll also go to Cincinnati, to Cafe Vivace, who has some great artists. And I love the Merrimans in South Bend and what they do. Great jazz club. Support them. And in Cleveland, the Bop Stop is such a unique place because they support with the club their music school, and it works together. And we're also at Erie, Pennsylvania, the jazz club. So having the small groups and then those two huge festivals. But yeah, Jazz Kitchen, everybody.
Yeah, August 25th.
Yeah, it's August 25th. Yeah. And then the Nepal, the Kathmandu, the Jazz Mandu Festival came together actually while we were recording, because Jamie Baum, the flutist, she's been there several times, and she said, we need to go there. It's so amazing and incredible. So she connected us. And the only way that is possible is also with grant support, which is the U.S. Artists International grant, because, the Nepal is not a rich country, and all they can do is host the groups, but they need the countries who's sending the musicians to pretty much support the stay and pay for that. So without that, it's not possible. But luckily, it came through.
Yeah, congratulations. Is this your first time playing in South Asia?
Yeah. I've been once to Japan, but this is very, very new. So I'm trying to figure out right now the visa things and the travels.
Congratulations. That's amazing. I know you always have a lot of projects going on at any given time. Looking beyond this tour with Sheroes, anything you have happening here in Indiana in the next year or so that you'd want to share?
Well, we just did a big Bibelbrox reunion at the zoo, which was so much fun. So I'm hoping we'll do a few more. We'll be at Eagle Creek Park on the 14th, and we'll play some of the music there. I'm still trying to have our project that has the TC steel paintings released, so that's still in the making. And then I have a global project that just came through in Europe with the European grant support to do a book similar to Tara Lynn Carrington's book for the 101 lead sheets for women composers, and do that for the European continent. So that'll be my 4-year project.
Mm-hmm. Our listeners can get a preview of your TC Steel project if they check out the small studio session you recorded here. Mm-hmm. I think you did at least one, but maybe a couple songs from that project, correct?
I think we did one, at that. Mm-hmm.
Monika, there's so many great tracks on All in Good Time. I've picked a few out. Before we go, I wanted to give you a chance to share a track that I haven't played yet. Is there any piece on the album that really stands out to you, or that you'd want to tell us about?
So it would be great to listen to one of Gina's tracks. So she supplied 2 of them, and I love how her voice is a little different in her approach. And there's one called Behind on there, and she did an album influenced by the music of Nick Drake before. And this kind of was influenced by the Things Behind the Sun, the song.
Great album, yeah.
Great album.
Great song, yeah.
You're right, but it's not a cover. So I'm just meaning it's the notion and the influence and the thought, and I love the way that came out.
A final reminder, you'll be kicking off the Sheroes tour at the Jazz Kitchen on August 25th. Our listeners can learn more about the Sheroes project at sheroesmusic.com. Any final thoughts you want to share with the listeners here in Indiana before we go?
Yeah, please come to the show. It's a one-time only thing. Often people ask me, oh, yeah, you're playing here, and they think, you're just a local coming back here and there and do everything. But this is only going to happen this one time, and if you miss it, you miss it. And we'll have, I'm putting together boxes of the 4 albums that we did with the Sheroes and with the nice poster and packaging. So that'll be a really cool thing to have.
Monika, thank you so much for taking time to be here. The new album is incredible. I always appreciate the work you're doing, so thank you for taking time to be here.
Thanks for having me.
This is Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Behind. That was Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Behind, off their latest album, All in Good Time. And Monika will be performing with Sheroes at the Jazz Kitchen on August 25th. Let's listen to another track from All in Good Time. This is Right Now. That was Monika Herzig's Sheroes with Right Now, off their latest album, All in Good Time. And that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks to my guest, Monika Herzig. Check out the Cultural Manifesto podcast at WFYI.org or wherever you listen to podcasts. Cultural Manifesto is hosted and produced by me, Kyle Long. Thank you for listening.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.